this month. Yay! Which is like 4x our normal volume. So
Did you say
crazy.
100,000 in sales this month?
Yeah, insane.
Damn, that's
Obviously that number shouldn't be like a public number, but with this group.
no, but still, that's such a huge deal. Wow.
I thought that would take like years to get to. So it's a good surprise this month.
And it also comes with a lot of challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't have products on the shelf already made, making 4 times the volume with the same team has been interesting. Hence me on a press right now.
Yeah. Any other wins you want to share before I let you get back to pressing things?
Because of the volume we're doing, we're getting a new warehouse and office space, which is more than doubling our space, which is exciting. And so we'll have room to grow for the next 4 years. So everyone can manifest that we negotiate the price that we need to do that. And then we're hiring a full-time marketing manager, which I'm so excited to get that off my plate. And there's just way too much on my plate right now. So I'm excited to have some help.
Yeah, super proud. What are other wins? What wins are you guys having?
I can share.
Yeah, please.
I think last week we discussed some ways that we were going to like push our communication about our products. Like, for example, we've been talking a lot about Patreon and stuff. And Patreon continues to grow this month, and I hit a mile marker that's about $1,000 away from my goal, which is huge for me for the first time this month. So I have a lot of hope for the next couple months that I think the goal that I had for the end of the year might come with before July.
I love that. Any other wins? Mikkel, welcome. We're just talking about our wins to start this call. Miranda or Mikkel want to share? Yeah, Miranda.
I'll share. So one of my wins this week is that we booked 2 spots in our retreat, our first retreat that we launched. So we're pretty excited. It's a super small group because it's in my house in Idlewild, and the people so far that have booked don't know each other, which is great. That's kind of how we wanted it. So nobody's like sharing rooms or anything. And we really only have one more space that we have to fill, but we can have like a couple more people go. So that's a win.
That's a huge win.
Yeah. And I don't know. I have a lot going on, so I kind of am frazzled and I'm losing track of wins and loses and losses. So, but yeah, exciting new ventures. It's going to come up really, really fast. Yeah, it's in less than a month. So,
yeah, I like it. So, what type of person are you looking for so we can manifest this third person?
Looking for someone like me. Looking for a woman, girl, lady that wants to kind of find her personal strengths and focus on those, and wants to kind of join a new community, get some new support of like-minded women, and who maybe is looking, I don't know, not really looking for a change, but just kind of like turning within and wanting to build on themselves. Yeah.
Perfect. I think this group might know some people like that. So
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to get outside of like the people that I know that know people that know, I want someone totally new
Mhm.
would be nice.
Yep.
Um,
And
but
they
yeah,
have to be in California or want to come to California.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I have to be in this country because otherwise I don't think they're gonna be able to get here. With all the COVID stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, one of the women that booked, her husband actually booked it for her birthday. And so like none of us have any connections really to her at all. One of us kind of knows her husband from a group, like a mastermind that they're in. So
Mhm.
that's gonna be fun.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
love it. All right. This has been
Yeah.
a year in the making. So I'm excited to have it finally come to fruition. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, Mikkel, what's going on? What are your wins?
You know, I can't seem to get away from people asking me to do stuff. I think that the online classes and the other things that I just are easier. 20 years in, I'm like, just give me easy. um, but somehow I can't get away from people saying, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you do blah blah blah," and it's hard to turn down because it's like stuff I could do in my sleep,
Mhm.
and it's like no matter what number I name, they're just like, "Yeah, okay," and I'm just like, "Is this my destiny? Am I supposed to work? Maybe it's just easier work." So that was all to say. I got um, yet another project this week. And I'm like, this is really easy, but do I feel like doing this? And I'm like, oh, stop. It'll take you a couple of hours and, grab $1,000 and it'll be fine. So I'm trying to make myself more open to that because on the one hand, I'm like, okay, if I keep taking these projects, I don't leave room in my life for other things. At the same time, I'm like, it's not like these things are so tough and killing me and people aren't paying what I'm asking them to, no matter how ridiculous I think the number is. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I need to be more open to just doing it. And at least I'm at the point where I can say no to people when the number's too low. And I feel like I'm actually getting paid what I'm worth.
Mhm. That's the victory. Mhm. And you're just, your hot stuffs. People keep calling. Yeah. Well, today is our last day to talk about sales. So obviously we talk about sales all the time because that's what we do. We run a business, so sales, sales, sales. But today's the last day to talk about our sales strategy, what we're doing, what's working, where we're stuck, mindset. And next month we transition into talking about the customer journey and how that layers on to the sales we've been talking about this month. So in my every other Thursday, I have my men's mastermind group, and today we were talking a lot about like our money mindset, coming back to that, and where is your money story stopping you? Because money story can be more than money's good, money's bad. What am I worth? Money story can also be, what's too big, what's too small, what's possible, what's not possible. So my first question to you guys is, who on their goals list somewhere has, I will be a millionaire? Right? Mikkel has it. So sometimes we don't realize that, like, we don't put things on paper because we don't think they're possible. So when saying this out loud, what's coming up for you guys about hidden money stories or thoughts about what's possible for you?
Well, I think just the thought of being a millionaire. Like even when things start working, I'm just like, oh shit, it's working. You know? And I think sometimes you get so used to things not working or where you are or the struggle or you only have so much money that when things do start to go right and when things are starting to work and like the things that you've been asking for are actually starting to happen, it's almost unbelievable. And then for a lot of people, they sabotage it because it's like they're so used to it being bad, and it's almost like you're moving yourself into a different space, and it's a little scary because you're kind of like, oh shit, things are going well, and you're kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know, for something to mess up. But yeah, you just, it's like you're telling yourself something bad is going to happen any second, you know, even though you know you're doing everything right, you know that this should be working and you've been asking for it to happen for so long. But you just, you know, when it finally does, you're sabotaging it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Great. Other thoughts? Miranda, thoughts?
Um, yeah, I I don't write down my goals in money
Mm-hmm.
because I think I overwhelm myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you were saying, like I can't do that. So I don't even put it out there because I'm trying to stay positive. um, yeah, that part really makes me think that things are not attainable if I put a dollar amount to it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Any
I
reason
also,
why?
why?
Hmm.
I don't know. Because I don't know. It makes it more like set in stone, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like something that you really have to hit instead of like, I'm going to increase sales. It's like an actual number that you have to get to, which is probably good. But I don't know that I can handle putting that much pressure on myself right now
Mm-hmm.
because I am a hard boss and I'm my own boss and I don't want to do that to myself.
I can totally relate to that, Miranda, because, and I think some of it is that, like, you know, when you write stuff down, it's like now it's for real, and now you got to do it. You know.
Yeah.
I think along those lines, I guess a little bit of the opposite. We like earlier this year, like coming off of like 2020, and just like killed myself with the business, and like we had like $40 days, and I was like, oh my god, like am I gonna go bankrupt and like all these things. And so that was just a really hard year. And earlier this year, I'm like not working out, not doing all these things, like supposed to be planning a wedding, and I'm like, why am I doing all these things? And so A, I need a better work-life balance, but B, I think I was just like second guessing myself in the business and like, should I be doing this? Which just came of like little self-doubt. But once we made a plan and we were like, okay, this is our plan, it's what we're gonna do. And I think once we like did like that whole, I think we're talking about like Muhammad Ali last time about like manifesting and creating it. We had 100,000 in sales. And I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? Everyone's starting to travel again too, but I think that really helped. And I think like one day we did, I put a desk out in the office and everyone's like, what is this desk for? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to hire someone. Like, who? I'm like, I have no idea. And like, we're looking at office space and I'm like, we should just go the safe route and get like another 1,000 square feet. And I'm like, why are we doing that? So I think like putting all these other things into motion, I think has been really helping us of like manifesting it and having it come true. But also with that, we like breaking down the numbers of like, okay, if we need to hit this, then we need to have this many visitors, this conversion, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of rambling now, but I think there was like a lot of self-doubt at the beginning of this year. And then it's nice to see like 3 years and I finally get to like pay myself money.
Well, and you bring up two things that I think are really important, right? One is for everything you write down, there's a whole plan that takes you from that thing all the way back to where you are, right? It's not like you write down, let's make $1 million, then you go, that's it. I've done my homework. I wrote down, let's make $1 million, right? That's not it, right?
Yeah.
The other part, I think I talked briefly about this on Monday, is the tweet I put out, right? It's not magic, it's math. Everything we want to achieve is A plus B equals C. And sometimes it's A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus, all the things. But everything we want to achieve, there's nothing that is so unique that there's not a plan of action that you can make, either by copying somebody else's strategy, making your own based on what you've done. Like there's always, if I do this, plus this, it should equal X, always. And for me, that's where self-doubt and nervousness, anxiety can be squashed a bit, because if you have a map to get you from your house to the park and you follow it, you'll get there. So what's the map that we're creating for ourselves that all the math and all the forecasting we're doing says it should work? If X, Y, and Z happens, it'll work. And that's why we're looking at, what are we tracking? What are our goals? We have to look at what are the things that if we keep looking at them along the way, we will actually make the plan come to life. And sales is so much of that. Right. I arbitrarily we decided to double our business this year. I wrote down that for my business too, right? Each month I'm tracking. My goal is now I have to double what I did last year. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I didn't worry about it. I just knew to double, I had to talk to this many people and get this many clients, and that's it. I just did some basic math. We've hit that every month, January, February, March, April. And so now my coach goes, you got to make it higher. And I'm like, damn it. So we're just making it higher just because we can. So when we look at what we're creating, writing down the specific number, as scary as it can be, it's not about that specific number. Like, I don't care what the end goal actually is often. It's what are the things that are between where we are now and that number that we're going to do, right? Like, the simplest thing that people tell you, if you want to be a millionaire, invest $20 a week when you're 20 years old into your retirement account. You don't even notice it. It's just $20. And it does all the work for you. So the plans that we make should carry the weight of the goal we want to achieve, versus we carry it because we don't know where we're going. So me sharing that, what else is coming to mind for you guys? Kara's crazy, or?
I can definitely relate to, oh my gosh, all three of the people who have just recently spoke with Miranda, Kendra, and yourself. It's with the anxiety of actually having something written down and saying, okay, now out of all the things I have to do, I now have one more thing to focus on, one more thing to do. And the experience of having a goal set, and then like it's suddenly, and not suddenly, but you know what I'm saying, with the work and the steps involved, it's now a reality. This is my life now. Like, this is my baseline now. And that's a combination between, I guess, the experiences that I'm hearing from Kendra and also the things that you're saying yourself. So honestly, was really standing, it's weird because I could relate to both people speaking at the same time, right? And then with the process of actually making an outline, like you said, I'm going to the park, so here's the things to go to the park, and then just realizing that there might have been steps, there might be steps that just doing this thing brings me closer to my goal. Just that accomplishment in itself makes everything feel so much more possible. So it's about breaking those anxieties and breaking those mental boundaries that I have for myself that say, oh my gosh, it's too much. Like I'm taking on everything at the same time. I have a tendency to go, okay, if I say it's $1 million, then I need $1 million now. I need to figure, if I'm not doing $1 million now, I'm stressed out. It's just the way my mind works. Or, and I don't want to go in the opposite direction and end up being like frozen or paralyzed by the goal that I set ahead of me. But to have the type of conversations I've had with you and to have the type of time aside, like the idea is basically to just set an hour aside a day to think about, like brainstorm with another mastermind genius, like someone within my mastermind network, and say, here's what, but come on, Kara, and then the math lays out. And what, like, I'll give you a perfect example, the Kickstarter. I did the math. Realistically, I didn't say it would be a $30,000 Kickstarter. I set my goals much lower. I was like, no, it's going to be probably like a $20,000 Kickstarter max. But I did the math. The math said it was going to be a $30,000 Kickstarter. It did. The math said that my numbers were going to be close to like $85 or $90 a person. And I still didn't believe it until it existed. But I did all the steps along the way anyways. I keep doing this. I keep saying, okay, well, I'm going to test this out. This is my theory. I did this math. It's a hypothesis. I did these designs, or I did this email campaign, or I did this process that I set up for myself that involved like a giveaway and all these things that I know are emails, things that I know work, but it's just a hypothesis. Let me put it out there. And then I keep seeing it realize itself. It's a process, but it keeps working. So I'm like, this is why I say I need to just wrap all this stuff up in a package and send it, and have people pay for it, because I've done this over and over and over again, and it keeps working. But yeah, to have that initial fear have lasted a year. That's all I'm saying, is that I've been wanting to do this since last year and I haven't done it because the anxiety and overwhelm of all of the things weigh me down. So that support system's really helped along the way. But yeah, I don't know if that's a money story, but.
Well, there's a key phrase you said that I want to come back to, which is having $1 million on my list of things is just one more thing to do. But whatever your goal is, you shouldn't have a bunch of things to do. You should have one thing to do. And if you don't have one thing to do at a time, then we haven't set up your process or your to-do list in the right order. Because everything we're doing should be leading up to the $1 million goal, right? So if we need to make a linear structure of attack versus a wide structure of attack. Does that make sense? Narrow and long, like one after the other, versus let me do 50 things at once. It never works that way, right? So when we go back to projects versus maintenance, there are things that we know have to happen every day, but those are the first things we should delegate to somebody else, because we need to move on to set up the next thing and then the next thing. And so we're creating the bridge that everybody else is kind of crossing, but it's okay if we lay the foundation and then put the boards in, and then, we can do all the steps if we want to, but we can only do one step at a time. And so if we say our goal is to reach $1 million and we've done the math to work backwards, well, then we have to literally do just step one.
Yeah, I think I struggle with just doing step one, because we've already broken down all my like financial income places, and it's now turned from 9 to like 7 or 6 or something like that. And then those 6 are growing because those are the places I'm putting my energy into. But I still feel like, okay, well, I'm managing the manufacturing for one, while I'm managing the pre-sales for another, while I'm managing the whatever for this. And then if I have all my goals in 3 different places and each thing needs to make money each month, I feel like I have to put energy into each thing each month. And I go, oh, I did that Kickstarter. That's great. But my shop hasn't made my shop goals. So that still feels like a huge fail for me. And we've talked about this last where it's like, okay, well, if you hit your goals, then, but it still doesn't overlap within a monthly. I still need to make that money this month so that next month I can relax, because Kickstarter doesn't give me the money until the end of the month. So I'm still feeling a little bit of that pressure of too many things at one time. But I don't know how to accomplish I don't know how to accomplish doubling and making that financial income that combines with all the places while doing one thing at a time. I don't know how still.
The short answer is we don't do all the things. You just need one pillar to work, and everything else can be in different modes of testing or launching, right? So I know in my business, if all else fails, all I need to hit my goals on is coaching right now. I can't move on to hitting all of my goals in another pillar until I have somebody else who can either help me do that or manage other day-to-day tasks. Right? It's just, there's like, it's beyond the laws of physics otherwise, right? So how do you get this one space to work so you can systematize it, automate it? It's working. As soon as it can work without you on it 24/7, you can like step over here, right? Because like think about if you literally the phrase herding kittens, right? If you have a box of kittens and you let them go in a room, try to pick them all back up. Just try. Right? You're gonna get scratched. They're gonna leave out. They're gonna like it's a shit show. So we can't treat our business like it's a box of kittens. You know, the best way to like handle that would be grab one, put it in its crate, right? Come back, grab the other, put it in its crate. So when we think that we can like do it all at once, we're either compressing our timeline, we're not building out our team, or we're not allowing any one part to have a solid foundation. And it's hard because we love adding things and doing more. We are our own worst enemy, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think compressing the timeline is like I have a hard time saying I'll do this later, or it's okay to put this in April or something like that. Or I make my own rules, you know. I'm the boss. I'm the one who said that it has to go out in April. So yeah, the timelines for some reason are like motivators for me to actually get it done. So I always hyper put pressure on it. But yeah, and then the team members, I do need somebody to hand things off to more. I honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I need Kendra to get her warehouse. I just need that warehouse done because too much of my time, 4 hours of my time was put yesterday managing that stuff that could have been missed if I had the right team, built the right team and had the right players in there. I probably would.
I'm working on it.
I wouldn't have.
Everyone needs to manifest my price and then we'll handle you, Gail.
Right. Let's do this. I'm manifesting for you. I'm sending you all the vibes I can because your success aligns with mine. I'm fully tied into your successes right now because I think I would have come to this meeting fully refreshed had I not spent 4 hours on the road yesterday managing this stuff with this current team that I have. So let me pull back to the pieces that Kara just said. What is it like? I compressed my time, don't have the right team members, and there was a couple other elements that I could definitely relate to. Can you remind me what they were?
Having the right time, having linear plans and steps, having that roadmap, right? Because having the roadmap, the reason why I break an annual goal down into monthly or daily is because the smallest number is the easiest to do. Right? If I have to earn $500 today, I can go make $500. And then tomorrow but I can also make more, right? So we have to break things down. We have to say, if you want to literally have to think about if you were going to walk from your house to the nearest park, and you had to write down every single step you would take, you can't skip steps unless you learn how to hop, right? So like, or you find someone who has a wagon or a bike or whatever it is. So you have to start by writing out every single step and just getting one done at a time. You know, Kendra and I having a call earlier about, you know, marketing, and there's so much relief in focusing on one task, getting it done for the next 30 or 60 days and moving on to the next one, because you know it's complete. And that's the power of doing one thing at a time completely. That's where momentum comes from. So, you know, that example was doing Instagram, finish the Instagram plan, visuals, copy, hashtags, scheduling, do 45 days worth, and then move on to something else. Because it shouldn't take you that long. And we also have a psychological factor. I'm forgetting the name of it. When we jump between tasks, it takes us 15 minutes to reorient. So you lose 15 minutes. So if you can just do Instagram for an afternoon, you can probably knock the whole thing out for 45 to 60 days. And it's done. And you can move on to something else, or you can go swimming, take a nap. I don't care. Right? But we feel this need to like touch everything all at once or do all these things all at once. And it's like, no. I mean, so if we go back to sales, our sales pipeline should literally be set up one step at a time. So what is step one? Who knows the exact first step of their sales pipeline? This may be a trick question.
Have a plan?
That's a good one. That's not what I was thinking,
My
but that would
pre-step
have
one?
been a good trick question or trick answer.
You said tricky.
Let's go back to dating, right? That's an easy parallel. If you want to get married someday, what's the first thing you have to do?
Meet somebody.
Uh-huh. Or just know people. We're just going to even make it general. You just need to know other humans.
Or figure out who you're looking for too.
Yeah. And you
Let
may
people
not be able
know
to
you're
figure out
single.
what's that, Miranda?
Let people know you're single.
Yeah, right. So we might not know what we're looking for until we test a few times, right? That happens all the time with our customer. We think it's one and it shifts. Happens with, you know, who we want to have as a partner too. But if you are a hermit by yourself on the top of a mountain, unless you're going to marry the goat that is outside, you have to go and just know people. And so for our businesses, people need to know our business exists, right? Does it exist? Then we need to tell people. So we have to tell people it exists. We need to make friends, right? Then maybe we figure out which friends we prefer hanging out with, right? Like it's this whole process, but we want to skip to being like, I made it, let's sell it. And it's like, hold on, we need a whole bunch of friends first. And there's ways, again, there's ways to cheat the system. You can buy friends, you can spend money in advertising to find friends faster. Like there's all these advanced ways to do it faster. Get a matchmaker, hire outside sales rep. Like there's so many, you can hack it if you want to, but you can't skip steps you don't know exist. So again, my coaching pipeline is so simplified. Step one, I either tell someone I exist or somebody else tells somebody I exist. Step one. Step two, we get on a phone call. Step three, I make them an offer based on where they fit in my value ladder. Step four, they say yes or no. Like that's it. That's it. We can make it fancier, but there's no reason to. No reason to. So I can marketing should help me. Maybe it does step one for me. But right now I can't replace myself in a phone call. I haven't gotten there yet. That's what a landing page should do if it's a digital product, right? But we have to build it like it's a conversation. So thinking about order of operations, thinking about doing too many things at once. What is preventing you from hitting your sales goals?
I think for me, it's just a matter of how many people know I exist because they know about So Heidi,
Mhm.
who's like my direct competitor. But
Boo, so Heidi, yeah.
I'm trying not to dog her out, but it's like people will stumble on my channel or they'll start talking to me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, do you know who So Heidi is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know her." But most people are like, "Wow, I know her, but I had no idea you existed." So I think for me, it's more people knowing about what I do that's been my stumbling block.
Yep. Now that we know who your direct competitor is, I cannot wait to research her. And her website makes me want to vomit, not because it's her and she's your competition, but because there's a lot going on there. And I think she needs to get an unsolicited email.
I think so too. And actually, a friend of mine said to me that one of the things that she really likes, and I always thought maybe it was like just, the metropolitan thing, and she's out in Colorado.
Mhm.
Like it's just a different frame of reference. But one of the things that my friend had said, and she was like, "I'm not just saying this because you do that," but she's like, "I think she's really smart, but I don't like the way that she presents things. Like it's too much and it looks a little too like early 1990s. It doesn't look modern enough."
Yeah. I can tell that she is a fan of oh shit, that stickers, the sticker lady from the 90s.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
I'm going to Google it while we continue this conversation. Okay, so for Mikkel, your biggest roadblock is people don't know you exist. Okay, perfect. Miranda.
Probably the same, I think, which is step one. I mean, I skip a lot of steps, actually. I'm guilty of all the things you're not supposed to do. I'm not linear. I don't have any help.
Do it
Yeah,
all
I-
in
I
one.
t- yeah, I make stuff and go, this is cool. Who's gonna buy it? Now I'm gonna go make something else.
And remember, like if we know that we want to be in the role of maker, there's nothing wrong with that. We just need to be responsible that we can be like, I made this, David, go sell it. Right?
Yeah.
Or somebody else. Like it's okay to delegate things. Like I have a client right now who started her own practice and she goes, I don't want to do any of these things you're telling me I have to do. I'm like, no problem. Like you just need to hire a CEO. It doesn't even need to be full time, or at least a COO. Like you need somebody to do this work for you. And she's like, I can have a CEO and like not, I can not be the CEO and own my business. I'm like, yeah, people do it all the time.
Mhm.
Every fashion designer is not the CEO of their business.
Yeah.
It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist. So who is your CEO? Like but again, we can't, if you don't know it's supposed to be there, you can't make sure that that slot is full. You can't make sure that step is checked off in some capacity. And this linear thought process or the chain of events or the directions are really going to matter as we move into May and customer journeys. Because we have to be able to think about what path is our customer taking. So Gail, what do you think is the number one roadblock for your sales to increase based on what we've talked about today?
Number one, I can identify number one would be to have the right team in regards to helping me with some of my time management stuff. So for example, getting the right 3PL service managed. That is seriously no pressure on Kendra, but you just happen to be in the room. So it's helpful to have that, directly in my mind and have that opportunity. But the other one is jumping between things in my day. There's no linear path with what I'm doing. The third one is honestly just writing down the $1 million note, because I do have a $1 million goal. It's not necessary. I haven't really thought about it from like the immediate. It's been more of like you need $1 million to retire, like actually realizing that that's the real number, the actual real number. And so I've been taking on a million things at the same time, like real estate and figuring out crypto and figuring out 401ks and figuring out my monthly goals and all that jazz. So I feel like I've just been overwhelmed by that $1 million number. I haven't even written it down. So I don't really have a path because I'm trying to figure out all the paths at the same time. So I need to write things down. I think that's a roadblock.
May I give you some direct feedback?
Absolutely. Please.
Stop doing all that. Please. Like, just stop. Like, you don't need real estate. You don't need crypto. You just gave me a list of things that have nothing to do with your business growing.
It's a completely different conversation that I've been having with completely different people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I get that you are committed to ultimate optimization and doing things the right way. And
Yeah, that's what it is.
but that's why we hire like a financial planner.
I tried. He was like, you need to do some more things first. He was like, do these things first. All right, cool.
But the only step one, like the step -1 or 0 to get a financial advisor is just to have some money in savings that you can give him. Like, here's $1,000, here's 5,000, or you can just do that on a Fidelity account. Like, nobody needs crypto. You don't need to own real estate. You don't need to, right? We have to look at where we can be responsible for making to-do lists that drown us. And if we want to get super deep in this conversation, where are we making it harder to be successful because we are afraid of being successful? What are we avoiding by continuing to make the to-do list longer and never ending? And
I'm avoiding sales and talking to people because I don't like doing those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I had some money right now where I could just hire someone to do that, I would do that immediately. I don't like that.
One of my students who I follow on Instagram, she posted something on Instagram today about how this guy, like, it was one of those reels where somebody's responding to something that somebody else said, and he was like, well, what is the one thing that you feel like you should be better at, or feel like you should do but you don't really like doing it? And so the guy comes on and he's like, as a Christian, I just don't like talking to people. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only person.
Yeah. And there could even be things behind that, right? Like, sometimes there are things we just don't like to do, right? We avoid the things we don't want to do all the time. But when
I've recently realized that some of it is, the more you put yourself out there, the more you open yourself up to criticism and people saying, well, you didn't do it, like, you're not doing it right, don't listen to them, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if you don't, then you sort of like are in this little hole. And then again, nobody knows that you know anything. Nobody even knows that that you exist.
Yes. From my perspective, I'm not worried about getting hate. I also have very low care about what other people think markers in my personality. I have a client though who's been killing it. Their business is growing hand over fist. Like Kendra, they are so overwhelmed with how fast their business is growing right now. They got one bad review and it's been making them crazy. And we did an action plan to do some, to change that storyline. And they wrote me an email today and said, hey, I did all the things we talked about. I gave them all their money back. They're still writing more bad reviews. And I said, fuck it, move on, play offense. And I just wrote a 1-line email. And she writes back, thanks, coach. Super obvious. And I'm like, it is. Like, that's all it is. Like, why are we making it more significant? We make it significant, right? So
it's really amazing to me how like we can get like even on some of my YouTube videos, like I'll have, I don't know how many different people who gives it a thumbs up and it'll be like 2 thumbs down. And it's like you obsess about those 2 people who didn't like the video. And a lot of times it's like something stupid. Like they didn't like how you said something, or I mean, they're not gonna leave a comment, but like, when you look on Amazon and it's like sometimes people just hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, well, I can't really say yet because I haven't had a chance to use it. And you're like, what? Like, why even come on here and say anything then? But it really is. It's crazy how we obsess over the 2 people who didn't like something and forget that 1,000 other people loved what you did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also know that both Miranda and Mikkel like talking to people because you talk in here every week. You just don't like talking to some people or maybe strangers, right?
My husband said the same thing.
Right. So this all comes back to like, who do you want to hang out with? Like, why are you making products for people you don't want to talk to?
It's like, yeah, it's weird. I think it's the stranger thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been like really quiet and shy, and I can make a bunch of assumptions as to why that is. Like, I don't know.
It's safer.
Yeah. But it really, like, it's weird because on one hand, I really don't care what people think for the most part, but then I'm so sensitive too. It's weird.
Yeah. And it's all okay, right? So what are we going to do about it so that you can be super successful and not want to talk to strangers and be sensitive?
I know. I don't know. I either have to have like, I have to suck it up and do it, which is gonna suck, literally. Or I have to hire someone.
And maybe there's some in-between things. Like, what if you practice selling with people you do want to talk to? What if you ask people you know to give you other introductions to people who are not going to be so scary, right? Like, what if you changed what selling looks like? Selling does not need to be cold calling, like if I think about, you're selling all of your Airbnb stuff all the time, right? That's happening. So check, selling there, that's working. So other things to think about too, like your retreat, you only need to sell 3 spots. You've got 2 done.
Yeah.
And maybe you only sell big ticket items, so you only have to make 5 phone calls. There's so many ways to like manipulate the system so that you do the least amount of work you hate. And just like there's 3PLs, there's also people who sell things that take a cut after it's sold. So you don't need to do upfront out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of options.
Actually, that brings up a good point. If anyone is selling products, you can sell your products on other people's websites, and they do all the marketing for you. I guess kind of like a drop shipper, but it's all through Shopify. And I found this last week, and they just take 15%. So it's a sweet deal. Sorry, random tidbit.
No, it's super important. Thank you for sharing that, right? But there's always a solution. If you say, I never want to do this again, Ask this group, Google it. How do I never do this again? And there should be an answer. For real. Never want to cook again? Food delivery, restaurants, meal prep. That's why dry cleaners exist. Like half of the world's businesses exist because somebody's like, I am never doing that again. And I am very thankful for farmers and airline pilots. If we had to do it all ourselves, it'd be a complete shit show, worse than it is right now. You don't want me doing brain surgery. Mm-mm. All right, so we've got 4 minutes to go. What actions are you guys gonna take? There are 48 hours left in April. There are 2 months and 2 days left in the sales competition. Can you believe it? 2 days and 2 months and 2 days. So what are we gonna start doing so that we can kick Kendra's ass with our sales?
I did start contacting people on LinkedIn. It hasn't led to a sale yet, but I feel like I'm very much extending my network that much more.
Mm-hmm. I like it. We're gonna keep reaching out to people. Okay, what else?
I need to go back and watch all the group calls from this month because I think I missed all of them except this one. I have to make a plan. I lost sight of my plan.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do that.
Yeah, and if I was you, I would just focus on the retreat, right? Just one thing, one goal. So if you want 5 people in that retreat, just make that happen. It's you are more connected than you know. So delegate that shit.
Yeah.
Gail, Kendra, any final words for today?
For me, I'm going to start out. I mean, it's the end of the month, which is nice. I'll have numbers for where we were at, but I think I'm going to start out by looking at my numbers first, which I don't do. It's usually like in a hindsight thing. I'll look at my numbers first and I'll make my plan early for all my different channels in May and figure out where I need to dive in so that I can just make that narrowing early in the month instead of like midway through the month go, okay, cool. Like, where am I now? I mean, the check-in is obviously good, but I haven't been on it early. So that's my plan. I think it's going to serve me well.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think just following up with everyone. I think I just don't have the time to like there's a lot of sales in my inbox and I'm like, I just can't get quotes out fast enough. So bringing on a team, I think is my biggest action so that I can get back to sales and they can run the business too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. So hopefully the things that we've talked about this month in regards to sales are giving you guys a foundation from which to build other ideas. And I really hope what I really want you guys to get with sales before I move on to the next 2 months is that you only need to do the simple things to get the goal, right? Business versus a hobby is like one makes money. Like we can't get away from doing sales. And the people who do sales the best for each company are the owners because we can be passionate about it. Now, if that's not your jam, find somebody who can be as passionate as you are, right? And there's various degrees of need for that. So things that are closer to you and your heart and you provide the service, I would encourage you to do the selling. If it's farther away from you and it's more of a commodity item, then there's more room to not be doing the sales yourself. But keep it simple. We don't need any fancy tricks. We don't need any magical anything. We really don't even need any marketing type stuff, because so much of it is just telling people we exist and talking to people. So go back to basics, go back to a plan, go back to a number. So I don't care if your number is $5 or $500 or $500,000. Write down your number for your goal for May and just do a work back plan of how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? What is that month, weekly, or daily number? And what actions are we going to take that will add up to that number? Because then at least you'll start May off ready to go. Cool. All right, so Monday we move on to a new topic. And also tomorrow, if any of you guys are interested, I'm co-hosting an event called, or a discussion called Change the World, the intersection of mindfulness, meditation, breath work, neurobiology, psychology, and yoga. And we'll be talking about how those how all of those practices and science and knowledge together when combined are making huge changes in our world today. So that's fun. That's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So feel free to jump in there or tell people who do that type of work to come join. It should be fun and interesting. But otherwise, I'll see your beautiful faces on Monday. Call me if you need me. You know how to get a hold of me. Bye, guys.